Time for another video. I want to give you a helpful tip today. Have you ever felt moments when you felt like God had withdrawn from you and forsaken you for a time? I've had many of those moments during my Christian life, and today I understand that was based in my duality awareness, separation awareness. I know I keep talking about separation and oneness all the time, but it can't be repeated enough. So I'm going to try and repeat this message again and again, because we really learn by repetition. The reason why, and can I ask you for a moment to suspend your theology and your knowledge of the Bible, and even your experiences that have formed around the knowledge that you have from the Bible. Because our awareness, our knowledge will actually shape our experiences. So you get validations for whatever you believe subconsciously. And we call it God, or we call it spirit. But suspend that for a moment and listen. Listen to what I have to say. Because today I speak from a place where God can never forsake me. And I'm going to explain why. Most of us have related to and with God as a higher spirit that is above us, that is higher than us, that is more wise, more powerful, more everything. We certainly have not associated that spirit with us to be us. And because our mind has learned this perception so strong that the more powerful spirit is separate from us, it is above us somewhere in the cosmos, in the universe. And that perception creates the distance in our feeling of separation. Especially when we go through trials, we feel like God has forsaken us for a time, but it's never nice. The God that said he would never forsake us should never make us feel that way. So there's something wrong, and we are in cognitive dissonance about it. When God says he never forsakes us, then he never forsakes us. But if we feel forsaken, it's because of the disconnect in mind, in our theology, of what I explained earlier. That in our mind is this gap between ourselves and that high and mighty Spirit of God, the higher consciousness. And that gap in our mind wreaks havoc with our emotions. If you listened to my videos more recently, over the last year, you will hear me say that I am God, that I am the God consciousness. What has that done for me psychologically? It has closed the gap where my mind no longer distinguishes between my lower human self that is not all aware all the time, because in our human we are experiencing amnesia, we are experiencing unconsciousness. But my higher self, my spirit, listen to those words carefully. My spirit is all knowing. But because I am in this human, I sometimes forget that. I lose sight of it. But my spirit, my eternal soul, the higher consciousness that my human avatar is encased in, it knows everything. It is God. It is the entity that we refer to in our separation mind as God, the Almighty. But you are that higher consciousness in your spirit. You are that Almighty in your spirit essence. The connection is hard to make because of the dimension we're in. But back to my point. Having unified my spirit, the God spirit, the higher self, with my lower awareness, with my lower avatar, my lower self, my human, has created this oneness consciousness where, regardless of the situation that I might go through, I see it as God having that experience, and in my mind perceiving it as that. I never feel victimized. I never feel helpless. I never feel at the mercy of someone else. So I'm always connected to my higher consciousness, my higher God self. And really, outside of this body, nothing can ever hurt us. It's just this body that affords us the experience of being able to experience separation, of being able to experience being forsaken, feeling forsaken or abandoned. It's just in this dimension, it's just in this temporal existence. Once you get outside of this body, you have access to all knowing, because your mind, your consciousness is, quote unquote, made in the image of God, the God mind. What God is thinking becomes, and what you are thinking and feeling becomes. So you are very much the God consciousness, and you are creating every moment. Does this make sense? I feel like I'm losing the plot here. The point always is you are that. And when you unify the dimensions within yourself, and you can finally accept that you are the God consciousness in every moment, you'll never be alone. But also from childhood on, if we have been invalidated, each time we have been invalidated, it has made us smaller and smaller and smaller, and diminished the trust that we have in ourselves. Of course, you have to trust yourself to perceive of the notion that you are the higher consciousness called God. But you have to overcome your distrust of yourself, the distrust of your own soul. to grow into that perception. That's where shadow work comes in. Find all of the memories, the events where you distrusted yourself, where you were invalidated by the adults in your life that made you feel like you know nothing and you can't trust yourself because you messed up, because somebody told you you messed up. So that programming is all within us. That's what we're functioning from. And our ego mind will reason and say, well, how can you claim to be God when you're such a mess up? You have to change that programming. The mess up was only somebody else's perception of you. You can trust yourself, you can trust your soul, but you gotta heal you gotta heal those scars, those distortions that keep you from a higher perspective of yourself. So have I actually made my point? Feeling forsaken by God is because of the theology of a separate God. Because we cannot perceive that we could be and have all wisdom that we now believe only God has. Our mind has separated us from God and from that wisdom and from that higher knowing and from the power. If we don't believe that we could be that we could embody that, then we will be completely disempowered and live at the mercy, live helpless, live afraid of the next thing that could happen. So, I hope I made my point here clearly enough. I will visit this topic again and again, so if I missed it this time, I'm sure it'll come up next time. Have a fantastic, divine day. You are never alone. You will never forsake yourself, nor leave you. That is talking about your higher self, your higher consciousness, your soul. That is the God that it's talking about in the scriptures, which is your soul.